So we are starting with the session which is about Cyprus and Gulf, building strategic economic bridges. And it is my honor to moderate this session and to bring together in this discussion the diplomacy, innovation, and commerce, and even entrepreneurial vision that we have with all these three gentlemen. The relationship between Cyprus and Gulf countries is not new, it's proved by centuries, but it's coming now into a new phase, if you allow me to say so, because from diplomatic ties, which we have excellent ties, to strategic investments, from cultural exchanges, years, centuries of cultural exchanges, to technological collaborations, and we are witnessing the deepening and of everything, connections in all spheres, in multiple sectors. So this panel will explore how we can turn potential into partnerships and ambition into action. Our distinguished panelist today is the president of Cyprus Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who represents the business voice of the island, Mr. Stavros Stavro, the CEO of Consultix Group, who builds cross-border business relationship, Mr. Stefanos Nikolaou, and the Director General of Cyprus Research and Innovation Foundation, who actually drives the innovation agenda, correct? That's what we do. And each of them will share with us his unique insights. And what we will try to do, we will try to discuss how to build meaningful and mutually beneficial bridges between Cyprus and Gulf countries. So without further delay, I would like to start our today's session. I would like to thank you for being here with us. And my first question will be to Mr. Stavro. We know the Chamber of Commerce plays a central role in guiding business strategy. And from your perspective, where should Cyprus focus its energy when it comes to the cooperation and communication to Gulf markets? And what specific sectors do you see as the most promising for strengthening trade and investment between Cyprus and Gulf Cooperation Council?
Well, good morning to everybody. Natalia, thank you very much for your introduction. As I understand, we have plenty of time. Can you hear me, everybody? Then I will go back and use one of the sayings of my grandmother, who used to say, if you don't praise your own house, it's going to fall on you and collapse on you. So I will start praising my institution first and explain to everybody what we do as a Chamber of Commerce. I didn't have any intention of doing so, but since we have some time.
But the Chamber of Commerce towards the Gulf countries, so
I will do that. I will keep it to that side. So I will try and connect it to that side. So as Chamber of Commerce, it's our mission to starting with the promotion, if you like, of entrepreneurship, business, in order to create strong businesses within a strong economy and a prosperous society in which everything this works. All three, as you can imagine, they're all related. Now, you can do that internally within Cyprus and extend it beyond the boundaries of Cyprus. And this is our mission, and it's actually, it's our mission, which is the second part of it is legislated as well. It's under the Chamber of Commerce legislation of 1968, which gives us this authority, or responsibility rather, to promote Cyprus outside the boundaries of Cyprus. Now, by doing so, looking towards the Gulf, looking towards Africa as well, don't forget that Cyprus is a gateway. It's a gateway into Europe, it's a gateway into Gulf, it's a gateway into Africa. So we're trying to first of all, strengthen this position of Cyprus, of facilitating this role and utilizing this role for anybody who would like to use Cyprus as a gateway either into Europe or into Africa or into the Gulf, depending on which direction you are coming from, by building our infrastructures, our legislation, our regulations, signing agreements with all the countries in the Gulf, strengthening the trade relations between the countries, and basically making it more easy for people to establish themselves either in Cyprus or in the Gulf, and I keep using, despite the fact it's outside our mission, Africa as well. In order to do so, we have to sit back and analyze what is actually required for this. We say we strengthen the infrastructure. What does it mean? The legal system, what does that mean? We have to look into the requirements of the people for either promoting their own businesses from into another country or headquartering themselves here in Cyprus for operating into whichever other countries they want to do so. In achieving that, we are facilitators. We are facilitating getting people together, getting interested people together, because at the end of the day, we are not the experts. We are not the ones to decide what is required by these businesses, by these experts in order to conduct business between themselves. Our main expertise, if you like, is getting people together.
Yes, and coming back to the subject, what do people want when we speak about the cooperation between Cyprus and Gulf countries?
They want to understand the legal structure of both sides. They want to understand the requirements beyond legalities. They want to understand the markets in which they want to operate, the logistics. In order to get in touch, they want the contacts between themselves. And don't forget, we are not promoting opportunistic relationships. Opportunistic relationships are not bad. Let's have a trade here, let's have a trade there, and move on. What we would like to do is create partnerships, relations that last forever, that are sustainable. Okay. And in doing so, you have to build the platform for all those people to understand, to build trust amongst themselves. And that's what we are trying to provide.
Very good. And to summarize, before I will ask Mr. Lukaidis, I have a question to you as well. Before asking him, to summarize, what spheres do you personally believe, in what spheres do we have prospects when we speak about Cyprus and Gulf?
First of all, I start from the very simple services. In all sorts of kinds of services, we can provide services from legal, accounting, auditing, you name them, banking. We can provide all those services to whoever wants to use Cyprus as a base, as a headquarter, as a gateway, if you like, to wherever he wants to go, either through Cyprus to the Gulf or from the Gulf to Europe. We exports from whatever we can facilitate, logistics for exports through our ports, through our areas of storages that we have over here for further export into Europe. And also we can facilitate a step in between in order to utilize ourselves as Cypriot companies, the Gulf states, for gateway into further far away Asia. And these are all that things that tourism, we're not looking into that. We have different cultures, but yet so much close to each other.
Yes, and we have direct flights now, a choice.
That is the biggest connectivity, whether that's data connectivity or airways connectivity or port connectivity. Connectivity is always most important but I must admit, not the easiest thing always. Now we do have direct flights, and hopefully we will keep them, because we lived all through the times that they come and go, and it's very important we have continuity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will come back to the sectors, but now let's move to the technology as such. And in this fast-growing cooperation, a new stage of cooperation between Cyprus and Gulf countries, what do you see how Cyprus can help the startups, Cypriot startups, to reach those markets? And in what ways the Research and Innovation Foundation can support Cypriot startups to scale up, aiming to expand into Gulf, and also how these efforts will promote bilateral relationship. Okay, we want to go there as Cyprus, but what they want from us.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the question, Natalia. Great question. Well, great questions there. Let me just start by saying that the state of bilateral relationships is at a very good point at this point in time, and I think it's also the timing is right for us. Let's wind back the clock a few years ago. Cyprus, we all know what happened in 2013. 10 years ago, we would have had very little to talk about technology and innovation on the island, but look at where we're today. We really have an ecosystem which is growing, it's thriving, it's very well positioned in international indices and reports. So we have now an ecosystem which is ready to actually internationalize and scale up internationally. And if we go back to 4 years ago, that was the very first time that we, as the Research and Innovation Foundation, the national funding agency for research, innovation and technological development on the island, started taking some delegations of startups, but also scale-ups, innovative SMEs, to a number of events, including and conferences, including some of them in the Gulf region. And we felt at the time that it was an effort to help raise the visibility of the national ecosystem. And I'm very proud that today we have, in fact, raised the visibility of this ecosystem in international markets, and we are ready to actually see some success stories growing from Cyprus into the Gulf region. The important thing to also mention here is that timing-wise, we're at a great time because the geopolitical tensions, global and also regional, are favoring us to establish ourselves as a regional hub for research, innovation, and technology. But most importantly, we are ready in terms of the material. We have what it takes now. So if I look specifically in the Gulf countries, these are high growth countries. Recently, we were in Saudi as a result of the cooperation we have with the Digital Cooperation Organization, an initiative which is led by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And we had the opportunity to take a number of innovative SMEs over there. And they had the opportunity to pitch what they do. They had, we had a matchmaking event where they have looked for partners, investors, but also partners to work together to co-develop products and services that cater for the needs of that region. And I'm very glad that we have seen already, despite the fairly short time since that event, we have seen one investment happening into a local SME, a small medium enterprise here in Cyprus. Even more, through our participation in GITEX, we've been there for the last 4 years, and we will keep presenting and giving the opportunity to startups, scale-ups from Cyprus to be there. We have seen that they have generated over a few hundreds of leads, and some of them are converting now into actual sales. So, as I said before, the time is right. The markets are high growth markets there. You also mentioned the creative sector, the cultural sector as well, the culture sector as well, which is also a big sector, surprisingly enough, in the Gulf region. And we do have a lot of opportunities that we're looking to exploit. Even more, we are providing startups, scale-ups, innovative SMEs in Cyprus the opportunity to use some of our travel grants and I urge you to use that tool to actually travel to the Gulf region, but also other countries.
It's only for tech and research companies.
It's only for tech and research companies to meet investors. We do realize that investments, we need more investments coming in from outside of Cyprus. We need productive investments. Investments in R&D companies, investments in startups are considered to be productive investments. So we're giving them the opportunity. We're giving grants of up to 2,000 euros to cover the expenses to go and meet investors to come and invest in the startups here. And I'm very glad also to say that some of the startups that have received funding through our programs, and I would like to mention a couple of cases here. We have a startup that is using AI to disrupt the way electrocardiograms are being done and delivered. I had a meeting with them this morning. They're growing into the Qatari market. They're growing into the Saudi markets. They will be there in a few weeks to pitch, not just in terms to customers, but also raising even more investments. We started with an investment of 1 million. Now we're talking about an investment of 5 million into a startup, which has received 1.5 million investment from the RIF. This is a real tangible case of a success story from Cyprus growing nicely into the Gulf markets. We also have companies specializing in AR, VR. We gave them the opportunity to present, to pitch in GITEX. Now they have some leads and they will be there again this year to continue discussions. So there is an array of funding tools. There's an array of support services that the Research of Innovation Foundation is providing to innovative SMEs, either very early stage or very well developed scale-ups, because the aim is always to look at the international markets. We do realize from the very beginning that Cyprus is a very small place. There is not enough in big, the size of the internal market is not big. So by definition, we need to be extroverted. By definition, we need to look into the international markets. And no doubt the Gulf region is one of the best markets to be at the moment. And we look forward to continue supporting all these people thrive from Cyprus to the world.
Thank you very much. So we started with big picture when we speak about the Cyprus Chamber of Commerce, all business. We made it a little bit more narrow when we speak about startups, research, innovation, and now we come to practice. Yes, and the question to you, Stefanos, business is never just transactional. Okay, it's from experience, your experience in Qatar and Saudi Arabia that you had, and your work with the region. How crucial is cultural intelligence in establishing and maintaining successful partnerships between European and Gulf enterprises? I don't think it's very easy. Tell us about your practical experience now.
First of all, thank you for the invitation and the question. From my perspective, it's not difficult. It's quite easy. But I have been in the region for more than 23 years. And I think that one of the most important things that one needs to think about is how close we are from the values that we have as a country towards that region. And that's the starting point. The cultural intelligence, as that you mentioned, it's not a soft skill. It's not a soft skill. It's an asset in that region. It's much bigger than people would think. So, for example, if you build a relationship and they trust you in what you are doing and how good you are in what you say and also how you execute, I think it's an easy path towards a success story. And we have to always think about what are our shared values, because they do take that into consideration. And that shared values is what the starting point of every business transaction is all about. So probably in Europe, and we know that in the European markets, it's more about, let's say, a process, having a protocol, or even having a different set of values. Whereas in that region, probably hierarchy plays a big role. Probably, the trusted circle around the people who do the engagement or having the discussions at night, especially, do play a bigger role when some kind of decision is going to be made. I think also, if you look at the Gulf region and the formality and the frequency of having the formal negotiations, that again is a bit different. And again, we have to make sure, and this is what I have done in the last 20 years, and I'm learning as I go along still, because I have done very big transactions. Now, lately, we have done huge transactions for our country. Usually, we take businesses from all over the world to Saudi Arabia and to the state of Qatar. Now, things have shifted, and it has to do with all the hard work of the gentleman on the panel, because if we showcase that we are actually a connector or an interconnector between Europe and the region, rather than a transactional place to do business. So we move away from that, but we actually show that we have common ground in doing more interconnectivity and introducing businesses to the region. This seems to be a better asset for us, and we have many examples.
Yes. Lukaidis had an example. What about you? Do you have without naming the companies, a practical example of success story?
I'll tell you something. It's work in progress. I do have success stories, but I want to specifically talk about this one because it has to do with NEOM, which everybody probably will recognize what NEOM is, and what it's all about. I mean, huge structures. A country within a country. NEOM is exactly the size as Cyprus, right? And they're trying to develop something really big.
NEOM, for those who don't know?
NEOM is a new area that is being developed on the west side of Saudi Arabia. I want to remind that Saudi Arabia, for example, is 4 times the size of France. So you can imagine how much unexplored territory there is, and their numbers and their how they want to grow into mega projects, and a new term that we all, I think, came familiar with called giga projects. A giga project, we are talking about GDPs of countries, of countries that are being happening. And one of the things that is happening there is construction, huge construction businesses. And when I was having a meeting in NEOM, I found out, for example, that NEOM is taking a lot of people from the east coast of Saudi Arabia and also from Dubai, traveling to NEOM to do all the construction and all that. From our side, Cyprus geographically, it's only an hour away. It's only an hour away from NEOM, and we could be the ones that facilitate in these big visions, because the visions are just too big to understand and grasp. So why doesn't Cyprus change?
So this
and
is
become,
one of the spheres to help our construction company and experts. In 1974, 1970s, in general, Cyprus exported this knowledge to the.
I just want to finish the comment before I pass it to Stavros. Is that and sorry, Stavros, is that engineers are traveling now from Dubai 3 hours every week to go to NEOM to work. Why doesn't it happen from Cyprus? Why isn't Cyprus?
Okay, that is flight maybe.
Yes.
1 hour is you just measure as a ruler.
No, it is 1 hour.
It's not by flight.
It's actually 45 minutes by flight.
Yeah, but do we have one?
No.
No.
But could we? Yes, because the airport is there. Yeah.
Connectivity.
Yeah, connectivity that we're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So to summarize in few words, the success stories between Cyprus and Gulf. Just name 2, 3 that you want to mention.
Okay. Now, from the business perspective, you want to know, or from
yes.
from the business perspective. Okay, from Cyprus, more I have is global. It's not from Cyprus as of yet. Okay. We do have introduced a lot of businesses there, but I'm insisting that the businesses there have to understand what their visions are, and not what our potential is from here. And because of the initiatives that the government is doing now, I think it gives a lot of purpose to what I'm doing on a private level to do that. So I have businesses, for example, from the United States. I have from Brazil. I have from Colombia.
Fields?
I have in, now we are actually diversifying. One of the biggest medical companies from Pennsylvania in opening a manufacturing plant in Saudi Arabia. And that is going to be, that is a huge progress which happened. We have a company which is an agent which distills the oil for, and our potential is Aramco. This is huge as well from Brazil, that we are introducing them and doing the test in Saudi Arabia. We have one of the leading hack, or rather cybersecurity softwares in Greece, which we have diversified now in Saudi.
So
and
you mentioned
and
three
Qatar.
spheres. We'll stop here.
Yeah.
Three spheres, like pharmaceutical and medical.
Yeah.
We can say like this, the oil refinery, and the last one. But I would like to ask about obstacles. Now everything is good, practical implementation of the vision. A Cypriot company is helping an international level, in your case.
Yeah.
What are the obstacles that Cypriot companies have there?
Obstacles is, yes, Mr.
Yeah. Can I have this microphone?
Chairman, apologies. So, as government, we are actually establishing those necessary connections for flights to actually come in direct. So there are some that are going to be announced very, very shortly, connecting other areas of the Middle East, answering to some of the challenges. As part of actual industries that are actually already here operating, and thanks to the great work being done by common delegations between the ministry, the ministry.
Mr. Skouridis, could you sit here so everyone will see you? I arranged for your seating.
I'm sorry.
Opportunity. I think here would be nice.
Sorry. Apologies again for being a few minutes late, gentlemen and ladies. Good morning. So, recapping on just one item, there are specifically 3 to 5 flights or direct connections that you will be actually seeing in the near future that are actually being worked by the government that will ease access into the region. So one of the areas of creating connectivity is actually being addressed. But going back to Natalia's question, thank you again for inviting me upstairs, the question on what has actually been done. We are already seeing, and we already have presence, for example, of companies from the UAE. An example could be part of DP World that is working with, for example, a port. Others are basically cooperations between entities like G42 and data center construction type of companies that are already working with SIDA on upcoming projects that are there. There are some others basically that have agreements from a partner to partner or company to company perspective. But what we are actually doing right now is we're at the government level, also with the help of the Chamber of Commerce, and also with the direct involvement of the Ministry of Energy and Industry, where we do actually go to, let's say, missions together. I mean, we were there in Investopia again, I think, a few months ago. We are setting up the road for us to have that infrastructure, for us to look at the connectivity, for us to look also at the business to business. And of course, as the chairman will actually share a few of the obstacles, the government is really working on really creating this bridge. And again, I'll probably spend 2 minutes later on just finishing off a speech that I didn't start, but what is important for us to understand is we do see the Gulf as a strategic partner. We have just signed an MOU with the Ministry of AI and digital workplaces in the UAE in February, and that basically showcases how we are basically building the bridge for us to move forward. So apologies for just jumping in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this comment. And later on I will have a question to you because you have personal experience with working with those countries and we would like you to share it on a later stage. But we were speaking about obstacles. So from the governmental point of view...
Before I go into the obstacles, I'd
yes?
take a bit, just following from what my friend Mr. Skouridis said, is first of all, we have visited Investopia recently, and where we exchanged views and we learned a lot ourselves. And as a follow-up from there, we're having one of the satellite Investopia conferences here in June. So you're all welcome here, where again, it's a very, very big honor for us to have this here in Cyprus. And before that, we visited with Stefano Qatar in September 24, and recently we have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Qatar Financial Center, and we are moving to sign one with the Chamber of Commerce of Qatar over there, whereby we are trying to help and pave the way coming to the obstacles. I will just follow from what Stefanos said earlier on, that it is a matter of sometimes of culture. Doing business is culture, and these cultures are different whether you're doing business in Europe, in Africa, or in the Gulf. In the Gulf, we went in September on a scouting mission to find out what's happening there. We saw a lot of people, both locals, and we also saw Cypriot business people in the area to find out about their problems. Our conclusion is that businesses are done in the evening, as quite rightly said Stefanos, over a drink, over a chai, over some good food, talks about it, discussions, getting together, building trust, and then when you eventually come to conclude everything, then you enter into the conference room where you just signed whatever you agreed over a nice dinner or lunch or whatever you had.
So first, building relationships.
Building relationship is the most important thing. But in order to build relationships, we have to get out of this cultural difficulty or handicap that we have as Cypriots, that wherever we go, we hang out with Cypriots. We have to hang out with locals and mix with locals and meet people and get to know their culture. Not try to promote our culture in their country. Let's promote our culture to them when they come to Cyprus. Now, we have to mix with people. And this is what we realized when we went to Qatar. When we were, a lot of our people down there they're great business people. They are doing a lot of people. But they want to make that extra step of mixing with the local people and getting the trust of, and opening new opportunities by mixing with people locally. And the other obstacle is no matter how good you are in what I'm asking them to do, you also need to have your local contact. That's why you have to build up that relationship and then work with your people, with your local contacts there to help you out. Now, these are the overall approach, if you prefer, obstacles. And don't forget, I'm talking not as a president of the Chamber of Commerce of Cyprus, because in order to be there, I'm not a full-time employee of the Chamber. I'm the president, and by being there, I'm a businessman. I have my own businesses all over the world, so I'm talking out of experience too. And believe me, once we solve out all these things, then we go to what Mr. Skouridis said. The government is doing great steps. They are doing, they're taking a lot of actions in order to facilitate this movement of entrepreneurs, either from Cyprus to the Gulf, or from the Gulf over to Cyprus. We consider, as he said, Gulf as one of the real important areas and strategic areas for our economy to move in. And not only the economy, but the business people. We talked about connectivity of flights. And Mr. Skouridis said that there are some in the pipeline that they will be announced in the future. Now, the business people need stability. You cannot, we're not tourists. We're not going to have a flight that will operate only in the summer and call it connectivity. No, it has to be all the year round. And this is what the government is working on. And it's important to stress that. We're not working to establish connectivity because we're working very close contact, which will be for tourists only. It's going to be connectivity for the business people. Because if we come to construction for these gigantic projects that, don't forget, it was Cyprus companies that paved most of the Gulf. It was Cyprus companies that built most of the Gulf. But those were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where the mobility of a whole company to establish itself in a foreign place to start up and do these giga projects were different. The requirements now, both for mobilizing equipment, but most importantly, personnel, are different. And this is what we are working with the government to facilitate the possibility, to make this mobility easier, not just for equipment, but for personnel most importantly, because this is very important. These are the most important aspects: connectivity, culture, approach, whatever you call it. These are what we're handling. And as I said at the beginning, and I'm closing, what we, as a Chamber of Commerce, can do, and this is what we are trying to do, and we're working together with the government and also government and our friends here, the association, is to facilitate all this together. We have expertise, but the experts are the interested businessmen together. We try to get these interested people together, lock them in a room, and let them discuss of what they can make out of that meeting. And you'll be surprised how much can come out of this exchange of ideas between two interested parties that know their business. Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Stavros.
I just wanted to add something, because what Mr. Stavros is mentioning is exactly how I see it from the entrepreneur perspective. And our government, I want to thank the people on the stage, because they are really, again, trying to bring us in the front in order for us to show why we are good and what we are good at. And I'll give you an example. When we went to Qatar, and we had a discussion there, they know Cyprus very well. We are not here to tell them what Cyprus is all about and what it can do. They know about that.
Yeah,
probably 15 years ago they didn't. Now they don't.
Prospects working
absolutely, that's where I'm going. The prospects are huge for our country. They are huge for our country, but we need to understand that they have bigger visions, which their geographical sphere of influence covers Cyprus now. And how can we facilitate in those? Maybe, say, data centers, which I think our chief scientist here is also managing a lot of initiatives, or construction, is what we need to take into consideration. And to close, when we were in Qatar, they said, Stefanos, why don't you create a think tank here in Qatar and call it the Cyprus Hub? Why? Because you have so much experience. We need that experience for what we are developing for the future and our generations. Why don't you look at it from this perspective?
Yes, that's what Mr. Stavros was saying. Yes. Expertise and consulting and services to be exported there.
Exactly.
And one final thing, and I'll shut up, I promise. Be specific. Don't go down there with generalities. Be specific. If they want to know generalities, they can go to YouTube and see what Cyprus is all about and how beautiful beaches we have and how good food we have and all that. They know all that. And they are fed up of listening to that. Go there and talk to them about your specific business, what you're looking specifically to do down there. Why are you there talking to them, and that you are not wasting their time? You have something concrete in mind. It's very important.
Yes, and now I would like to switch into the question to Mr. Lukaidis and then to Mr. Skouridis on the steps that should be done, for example, to create an ecosystem when it comes to startup, innovation, research, and then a bigger picture with you for the whole Cyprus and IT. So let's go from small to big.
So let me add another point to the previous topic. It's not just about the culture, which I agree, that was a spot-on comment. It's also about shifting the mindset from local to regional or even global. That is something that Cyprus companies need to do. because every time we have the follow-up conversations when they come back, and I gave you 2 examples, but I can sit here talk about another 5 or 6. The one thing that comes back from their meetings is that, the sizes are much bigger, the scale is different. It is. We operate in a very small country, so you need to shift the mindset and think global if you want to be successful in those markets. And you need to put the level of ambition up as well, because you're there competing. Everyone wants to be in those regions. I mean, these are high growth countries. There is a lot of development going on. There is a lot of investment going in. So you need to be there and present yourself thinking global, not local. And that also includes recruiting and onboarding the right people to help you be successful in those markets. They're operating in a very different way. So how do we help, to your question, and how do we build this ecosystem which is fit for internationalization? Well, first and foremost, everything we fund needs to be right from the beginning, thinking international markets. We are not looking at funding anything which is just for the local market because it's a small market. We don't even have an internal market as such. So with that said, we are providing a lot of support services, starting from the skills that they need to build game-changing disruptive products. We run seminars, we run trainings on how to present yourselves in international fora, how do you actually participate in conferences and events, because that was another gap we've seen. In the very beginning, when we're taking delegations abroad, we've realized that the conversations were not happening. Stavros also made the point that it was all about mingling with our own clan rather than being out there and trying to be in front of who really mattered. So we're bringing experts from abroad. We're helping with how do you actually go to an event. It's very important to mention, you just do not show up there. There's a lot of work that you need to do before the actual day.
After.
And after, following up. Mm-hmm. So it's very important. So we're running a few sessions. We have one that I think is going to be taking place in the next few weeks. Again, bringing experts on how do you actually go there? How do you start early on? If you're going to go to GITEX in October, November, you better start now if you haven't started already. You need to go through the list of participants, start pinging. You have to kiss many frogs to find your princess. So keep knocking on doors, trying to present yourself, be professional. So these are things that the RIF is providing a lot of support, but then also coming on the hard side of things. How do you protect intellectual assets? You're going to be operating in a new market, in a new region. You have assets that you need to turn into intellectual property. There is a lot of infringements going on. So be prepared, have your product collateral, have your sales and marketing collateral in place. So these are kind of support tools that the RIF is providing, because we switch from just giving money. We're not an ATM machine. We want to see ourselves as value creators. So shifting the conversation from we're not just giving you money, we're giving you a lot of support services on top of that, because we want you to be successful in international markets. That's the return on our investment. One of the key metrics is how many exports we have of high-tech or mid-tech products. These are the kind of things that we fund through our national funding program. So there is an array of support tools that you can use. And just also important to mention, you don't necessarily need to have secured funding from us. These are the tools that are open to everyone and anyone who has obviously R&D related innovative products going into the markets, which you can tap into in order to be successful. I mentioned earlier the travel grants. Meet the investors, travel abroad and bring the investments back into the country. But also, how do you do that? It's not an easy conversation to have with investors.
Yes, practical tools.
So practical tools.
Yeah. What I want to do, we have here surprisingly many people, and I'm so glad to see all of you here. And I would like that the dialogue will be not only among our panelists, but also among the audience and the panelists. After Mr. Skouridis will tell us a little bit more of what he was planning to tell for this panel, I urge you to ask specific questions. We spoke today that we don't need to go very general. Let's go very specific. So think in your mind what specific questions you have to very strong panel we have today. And from the ecosystem on research and innovation, let's go to ecosystem of the country, which your department, your deputy ministry is trying to support and grow.
Thank you very much. So first of all, before I answer this, can I actually see a show of hands of who are the members of the diaspora here with us in the room? So we have a few. Okay. So let me just say thank you and welcome. Thank you for making the time to be here. So let me just say something very important before I answer about the overall ecosystem at the country level. I think the chairman, Mr. Stavru, actually highlighted something that is important when you actually go to do business in countries in the Gulf. And I think building on what was said, I just want to say that there is an important item that I'd like to highlight. It's called the element of trust, right? Trust is a currency. We don't really understand it, but most of the times it is essentially the currency that makes things move. It opens the door. So to give an example, before I give you the answer, we're here talking about the bridge towards the Gulf. I was appointed as a chief scientist in 2023. I joined in September. I used to live in the UAE. And on my first meeting back on a mission, I worked with several key members of the Cypriot diaspora in the UAE. One of them I see here, it's Mr. Andreas Tsindos. There are a few others. Mr. Zamboglu is also here. There is Mr. Olympios. There are a few others. These members, when we actually started seeing which doors we wanted to open, where we saw the necessary alignments of the strategy of Cyprus with the UAE and how we wanted to build the bridge, they acted not just as facilitators, but as ambassadors of Cyprus, helping us navigate, right, through this difficult, let's say, area of really creating and speaking the common language of value that these different nations work. So as Mr. Stavru said before, right, it's not just a matter of showing up and signing an agreement. There is a lot of work that happens behind to make sure that that will happen, because in their culture, as you have noticed, rarely do projects fail. So that element of trust is very important as you're building the bridge. Now back to the question you asked, and I apologize for making a detour, but I just wanted to reaffirm that we as Cypriots cannot build bridges easily, cannot create the value unless we also tap into your collective strength and also help that you are actually helping us as ambassadors of Cyprus abroad. Now, the bigger picture. No ecosystem cannot thrive if you don't have a holistic strategy that brings together all of the different elements of the ecosystem. So either we do, let's say, transfer knowledge or IP or fund, for example, missions. If there is no one roof or, let's say, plan that brings them all together, it doesn't work. So at the country level, we have a strategy. We refer to it as the Research and Innovation Strategy 2024 to 2026. It's updated every 2 years. It has 4 specific pillars. One of the pillars focuses on internationalization. Taking that pillar, what we actually do is, on one side, as I also chair the Research Innovation Foundation, and with the Director General, we work on developing the parts of the ecosystem, and I see we also have a board member here, so good morning, Monica, and thank you for being here with us. So what we do is we create the plan that creates the short-term acceleration, but at the same time we have a long-term plan that we're working to building all of the blocks. So example, Cyprus is not traditionally very, very strong when it comes to agriculture or agrotech. Not very strong when it comes to space, not very strong when it comes to a few other areas. So within the minute plan that we have the categories as an umbrella, which are 7 in the strategy. We have a focus where we're pushing the ones that were predominantly very, very strong, and at the same time we are developing the others from a longer perspective. And to give you an example of this, as part of the strategy at the country level, we have identified that countries like the UAE are changing the game when it comes to artificial intelligence. This is why we invested in building the bridge with them, in basically establishing an MOU with them. When we look at countries, for example, like Israel, we understand their capability and their strength as a startup nation. We have a similar MOU that covers science and technology. When we look at the Far East, where it comes to Japan, we also have an MOU that was signed again in October 24, And what we do, to answer the question, is at the level of the strategy, one of my jobs as a chief scientist is to identify the complementary areas where we can actually grow. Example, right? We are investing heavily in Cyprus on solar energy. We have a lot of sun. When we want to partner with one of the most technologically advanced nations in the world called Japan, we're not going to go there and teach them about solar energy or batteries, right? But what we can do is we can work together to find an area where these two areas of research, because research is very important, complement each other in a policy mix. So Japan traditionally, when you visit Japan, you're going to see that they're not using electrical cars. They still use hybrids, they use gas, they have other technologies, nuclear technology, but they're not using solar. So working with Cyprus as part of that ecosystem, right, helps them develop a complementary part in an asset that fits into that policy mix. So to end up, at the strategic level, we have a strategy for research and innovation. It happens with consulting, basically, with the industry. And I think, again, Mr. Stavru for the facilitation towards all of the members of the community. We have a National Research Council that is the body giving that advisory, let's say, direction. Once we establish that strategy and that strategy on the ecosystem is approved, the other units work as an enablers. And to conclude, just to show that nothing happens in an ad hoc manner, less than a year ago, we facilitated a breakfast with Chairman Stavru and also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, inviting ambassadors to show to them, right, what we are doing from Cyprus from a research and innovation and a technology perspective, and also building on that, where we could actually offer value. And since then, we have had trips together to the UAE, to Japan, to Finland, to areas that are fitting. And every piece is actually building. But again, today's discussion is more about the Middle East. The Middle East has certain similarities with us, the Gulf region. We have a legacy. Some of our companies in the past, be it Metcon, be it JMP, be it, all of these other companies were actually part of the first generation of building structure. Now we are at a level where we are also very mature from a technology and innovation and a research perspective, and we have value that we can unlock. And from an ecosystem perspective, there are two things that strategists like me think about every day they go home and sleep. How do I scale what I have to actually serve not just a small island, but serve a bigger region, right? This is a learning point that we at Cyprus need to actually take away. So those of you who are not members of the diaspora and are Cypriots, think about scale. We cannot scale our business if we only build a product that is going to be selling to 800,000 people here in Cyprus, right? So our diaspora can also help us in changing this mindset. So it's about scale, but then it's also about that cost efficiency to go to market. So every ecosystem, in the end of the day, will only be successful if it yields results. And the yielding of the results is basically the growth. Let's say that it grows in the market because, as Mr. Stavros says here, is a businessman, right? Can any business run on no profit? They can't, right? So ecosystems, right, are built to generate value. We are building engines that generate value and capture value. Research is part of that, but what we are doing is developing the end-to-end umbrella. And happy offline to have a discussion with any one of you if you have any comments or any questions or any suggestions as to things that we may say. And I've seen a lady there who's actually wanting to ask a question and we haven't given her the opportunity.
Can I add something? Yes, sure.
Mrs. Skouris said something extremely important. And I said it last year in this very venue, conference during the closing gala dinner. It's about time, and I think, thanks to Mr. Lambis, we realized that the most important asset of this small island in the middle of the Mediterranean is its children abroad. It's its diaspora, and it's about time we start using it the proper way. It's not a shame to ask for help. We have great assets out there that they are willing to help. Let's reach out for them. And this is a great opportunity to do so. Let's utilize it.
All right. Yes, Mr. Nicolau.
I just want to give you two examples which are happening now with Saudi Arabia and Cyprus. But it's not going from Cyprus to Saudi, but myself walking in the building and telling them, why aren't you working with Cyprus more? And this is with Al-Marai. I don't know if you know Al-Marai. Al-Marai is the biggest dairy company in Saudi Arabia and also in the Middle East. So I walked in and told them, why are we only exporting 1,000 tons of halloumi cheese to Saudi in the Middle East? So it shook the ground. Now I have been assigned the chief advisor for Al-Marai of how we can grow this, and now I'm in discussions with the Ministry of Agriculture of how we can grow this in the next
There is big potential. Today we speak about Gulf countries, but there are so many other countries in the world that could consume our halloumi if we speak about halloumi.
Yes,
we cannot produce enough.
No, we actually can. We actually can produce based on, because we are talking to the right people who are manufacturing, yeah? The second example is I have very good relations with the Saudi Exim Bank. Exim Bank is the national bank of Saudi Arabia, huge. And I went in and I talked to the CEO and I told him, why aren't we working with Cyprus? And he said, I don't know. So 1 and 1 plus 2, now they're in we're very close in signing the biggest bank of Cyprus with them in a JV. What does that mean for the future? How the people on the stage will use it and what it could bring to our island is what we do. And this is how we should look at it.
Very
this is why we should
sensitive
look at it.
subject,
Yes.
and I'm sure people in the room will agree that banking in Cyprus is a very sensitive subject when
Next
it comes
question,
to
please.
international. Yes, when it comes to international cooperation, our banks, and you mentioned Bank of Cyprus and many others, they are not welcoming funds from third countries. What is happening? Is it an obstacle, Mr. Stavro? What is happening in this field when it comes to Gulf countries?
Well, why did you start this subject? Yes, we acknowledge this problem. It's there. We had a conference last week, and it's no point in hiding behind our fingers. We, unfortunately, on this subject of the banks, when it comes to compliance, we went from one extreme right to the other. People, I must say, are working and trying to find ways and means to solve this out. It's not an easy subject, and wherever you try to find an answer, one refers you to the other, going all the way to the European Central Bank. The question there is that we have to be more decisive in the sense that there is no such rule as to who is allowed to bank with X bank or the other. It's all about assessing on a risk-based management what the risks are. And this is not an easy decision to be taken. Yes, we have a problem. Yes, we're working on it. It's one of the things that I cannot promise how quickly this will be resolved, but I know that every single person, from the President of the Republic all the way to the central bank governor, to the Minister of Finance, to the Chamber of Commerce, to every single businessman on the island is working on this subject.
And this is a positive news.
I am confident that we will find the solutions, and this will not be an obstacle. By the time you find your partners and set up your companies, then we will be ready to open the bank accounts for you.
Right.
Thank you.
So now, the questions should be short. After 1 minute, I will interrupt you. And different. This will help us to serve many of you. So you wanted to ask a question for so long time. Please introduce yourself and ask it, but short question.
Okay, I am very curious, and I'm a president of Kimoloi Foundation, and also I'm a capital rights consultant. My question, and first of all, I would like to thank the panel for this important information that you shared with us. And my question is, the Gulf countries are male-oriented countries. What possibilities do women
Mr. Skouridis, you lived there for many years, and you work with Kazakhstan, with Qatar and Saudi Arabia for many years. How would you comment it? You need a microphone. Yeah, yeah.
Mrs. Pirgo, thank you very much for the question. I think that the Gulf countries, I will talk at least about the UAE, where I lived for about 17 years in total, have had a very big shift in towards welcoming entrepreneurs, particularly women. Of course, when you go from a culture shift as part of the culture and you're moving into opening up, there is always a transition. But I can only say, and I know sometimes it's very hard for somebody to actually tell you something until you actually experience it. I have at least 50 fellow colleagues who are ladies who run businesses in the UAE. I have at least 10 lady friends who are basically associates of my wife, who's a doctor, who are running practices that are in the UAE, leading them. I know at least more than 100 that are basically working in the government, in different units, and they're basically high up in the rank. Very recently, I mean, less than 2 months ago in February, there was a conference on defense that was hosted in Paphos, and the heads and the Director General of the UAE government that were here were all 3 ladies that were participating in it. So we are going, the Gulf is going through a shift. In some countries of the Gulf, because they're not all the same, they are pivoting much faster. In some others, they are a bit slower. But I think that what is happening and what we see is happening is that they are empowering citizens, basically their own, to step up and to lead. They are creating opportunities, and I think this is a learning point that we all can take, especially, is that we shouldn't, I think, only look at things as black or white, but we should look at how do we articulate in the value creation that we have. But again, as I said, October is going to be GITEX. If you're willing to travel, happy to introduce you to many of these colleagues and also facilitate introductions should you want to identify possible synergies there. And I think it's the best way to actually see. But again, I always say as an executive, I've at some point of my career led 130 countries. When you actually focus on value, how do you create value? How do you capture that value? You unlock very powerful discussions. And that's a game changer. Thank you.
Mr. Stavros.
One thing I just want to add is because I have been away from the Gulf for a number of years. I used to go very often. And I visited again recently a number of times. And I must admit, I mean, they have done their steps forward in 5 or 6 years, what it took us 2 or 3 decades to, in this very specific field. So there is a huge progress there. And I was personally surprised, I must say that, but pleasantly surprised. And I go along with everything that, that Mr. Skouridis said.
Can you add about Qatar and Saudi Arabia?
First of all, it's great to see you, and also an honor to have you here. Ms. Pirgo is very well known in the area of, women's rights and everything around that. So pleasure to have you here. But I will talk about Saudi because Saudi, in the minds of people, they will think that's the most extreme scenario, which it has changed. When I lived in Saudi 10 years ago, you couldn't eat with a female or a woman in the same premise. It was separated. It was males and then families. Only if you were with a family, you could sit and have lunch. And again, everybody used to be covered. Everybody. So it does. In many ways, if you see it from a cultural perspective, others would say it's a violation of human rights, and how you see it from the perspective from being there and an expert in the region. The transition that happened between 2016, rather 2020, after COVID-21 till today, not only they have taken leadership positions, and one of the most inspiring women I have met is the ambassador of Saudi Arabia and the United States. She's a princess, and I had the honor of meeting her at her house in Washington, D.C. And And just to make you understand, again, how these people think and how different they are from us, I was on a delegation with the Minister of Investment in Saudi Arabia because I traveled with the ministry all over the world and handle their delegations and also give them advice of what to do because of the culture is one of things, but also business. And I walked up to her and she says to me, I said to her, I'm the only Cypriot in the world and you will ever meet in such a venue, and also the only one who is non-Saudi. And she says to me, let me tell you why I love you, she says to me. This is how she approached me. She did not approach me in a very different way, and just to bring me closer, not to feel bad, she says to me, you know that I love George Michael? George Michael is my biggest love. So that's how the connection happened, and this is how we brought it close. So it was a brilliant experience for me to showcase how it doesn't make a difference who you are. It's how much you're empowered within your government in order to give, that power. And to finish off, and I just wanted to, sorry I took a bit longer, something which is meant to fly cannot stay in a cage forever. Yes. It's simple as that. They understood it, they are doing big changes, and they are paying for it. They are paying for it from a cost perspective, paying marketing-wise to convince people like you that they have changed.
I said to you that your question should be 1 minute. I did not say to them that their answer should be 1 minute.
Just
to summarize.
Just to add, because I think there was a beautiful example that was paved. So Saudi is making many big changes, and I think one of them, which is not only symbolic, but it's also actual of value. The superpower leader that is bringing together the DCO, an organization of, let's say, states, countries, amounting to 1 billion people to accelerate the digital societies or the digital communities. The DCO, it's called Digital Cooperation Organization, is led by a lady called Dima Al-Yahya, right? And this is a statement that basically says that, as Stefano said, we recognize, we are making, we are empowering, but we're not just empowering. We are creating support structures to change. And again, I think going back on the intent is there. Of course, cultural-wise and a few other factors held things back. But I think that there is room, the culture is changing, the opportunities that are there. But I go back to, I think, one advice to the public. When you engage with members in the Middle East or the Gulf states, just remember, they're very sharp entrepreneurial, they focus on value creation. Everything else is second order. It's all about talking value.
All right.
So I think if I may just throw a couple of examples.
Yes, and keep 1 minute.
Yes, sure. So I spoke earlier about the delegation we led in Saudi Arabia, where we took a number of startups and scale-ups, and I did mention of one of them has successfully secured investments. That was a female-led enterprise, and that didn't act as a barrier to securing investments. So I think this is a positive sign. And the other example is, again, on that delegation, and we have here in Cyprus a company that we should all be very proud of, Odyssey. They're in cybersecurity. They feature in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. They're doing very well in the Gulf region. They were there. They're putting women on the ground doing the sales. Very experienced people. So I think this is testament to what was already mentioned, that things are changing. Of course, it does take time. I mean, we should also look at ourselves and how much time we also want to change our own culture. So it's transitioning, it's happening, it's very encouraging. The markets are opening up, and last time I was in Riyadh, I was very impressed by the change compared to 2013. So it's happening.
So we have 15, maximum 20 minutes left. And what I suggest, 1 minute for question, 1 minute for answer. That's maximum. That's we can have about 5 or 6 questions. So please, a question. I think, Mr. Lukoidis, you should start, because you said about seminars, the whole infrastructure you're building to help. Yeah. Yes, 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 but it's opening the doors.
I think, well, first and foremost, leverage your interpersonal relationships. Find someone in your network who can make an introduction. That would be a good starting point. I mean, most importantly, be present. I mean, join us in one of those delegations. Be at GITEX, because this is a place where it's a platform where people meet. So just go around and introduce yourself. Mr. Skuridi spoke about the diaspora there. We have lots of people who are very well connected. They're very happy to make introductions. We've seen it ourselves. We witnessed it when we told them, for example, that, look, we have this colleague from Cyprus who's looking for these kind of partners, and they've made the introduction. So be part of a delegation, present yourself, use every opportunity that we provide to put yourself in front of them, find the people who know the people, use your network, and once you put yourself through the door, make sure that you are aware of the cultural aspects that you need to be aware of in order to build that relationship. Another important point is that it takes time to build the relationship. We talk about trust, credibility. What we're seeing is that it does take long. That culture wants to first establish the relationship.
No, but sorry, Natalia, but he's trying to get the client away from me. Now,
All
no
right,
matter
his
how
1 minute
hard,
is off. Now
how much hard he tries, he would never get the client away from the Chamber of Commerce. You have to join the relevant association of the country, the bilateral association of the country in which you are looking to go for. And through that bilateral association, you will get all the help you need and the contacts. So don't listen to everybody. Just come to the Chamber of Commerce and we will give you all the help you need. And don't you dare again.
All right, so now the number three suggestion.
Very quick. Chairman Stavro,
Don't come to chamber, come to us.
Chairman Stavro is absolutely right. The only advice I can also give you, all of you, always before you go asking for somebody to introduce you, do the thinking as to what is the value that I can bring to you. You have that, right? The chamber, through the relationship that was actually mentioned, is the best way to do. There are obviously other opportunities, right? Satellite events. But I think what one needs to understand is that you cannot go to the Middle East on one trip, 2 days in a hotel, show up in an event, and think that you are going to establish a relationship. It takes build-up, it takes there, and it starts with the Chamber of Commerce.
All right. I have my microphone, so you wanted to say something?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, okay, your short comments.
You can
yes?
start counting. Clear value proposition, what Mr. Skouridis have mentioned. For me, it's a starting point, and once you have a clear value proposition of what you are offering, there is no industry, no business there which does not have an opportunity. It's a whiteboard, clear field. It is so big and it's so impactful. We are wasting our time anywhere else except the Gulf.
Okay,
this is what we do for a living, yeah?
Very good for this.
And
panel.
it has to
Yes?
come through the chamber.
All right. Okay. So, no, Mr. Lukaidis said, stay it alone.
Back
you know,
to
no.
the audience.
Yes, we will need to support you as well with our presence. Question? Yes, here. Mhm. All right, educational sister, Mr. Lukaidis and Mr. Skouridis. I think it's for you, for both of you.
Well, I think in fairness to the audience, because we're here on the panel for the Gulf, I think just to answer that, educational reform is something that is a hot topic across the world. It is a topic that the fellow Minister of Education and I think in youth and sports is actually looking at. There is actually an ongoing discussion as to how we modernize basically the syllabus. But again, I think that there are two things that we need to understand, is that on one side, we have things that we must do right now as country, as businesses, as enterprises to be relevant. The youth is actually one of the most important challenges that we actually need to build, but it's something that needs systemic changes that basically can't be done in 1 year, in 1 week, etc. And what we also need to understand, and I'm saying not to go away from the question that was asked by dear Antigone Komodiki, is that there are two things that are basically very important for us. To realize that there is a train and how fast we need to jump onto the train before the train leaves, and we are not on that train, which is the business opportunity. And then there is the other thing that we need to structurally change for us to create a factory of next talents to move forward. So I think what we are doing, there are conversations led by the Minister of Education. There are other conversations that we're also looking at to how do we revamp basically our structures, our digital skills, where the Chamber of Commerce is, the HRDA is involved right from a perspective. We, as Research Innovation Foundation, are very dedicated to supporting the youth. I mean, last year alone, I've spent maybe 7% of my time just working with the younger generation in mentorship, in events, in challenges, in visiting them to inspire them to move forward. But again, inspiring youth is not just on the side of the government. It starts with every home, it starts with a vision, it starts with a goal that we actually position in the mind of our children. And I'll say that because this is a bigger chapter, but Theodoros, you wanted to say something?
Yes, well, how do you complement the education received in schools, universities, when they go out with ideas? How do you help?
So as the Chief Scientist mentioned, it's a systemic change, but the National Strategy for Research and Innovation 2024-2026 does cover, with a specific pillar, the need to build a workforce fit for the future, and the interventions start from a very young age. So on the practical side of things, what we do, of course, we're very proud that we're supporting junior achievement, and you and the one and the rest of the team are doing a great job giving aspiring young entrepreneurs the opportunity to pitch, but also go abroad and do that internationally. So we are supporting a lot of other interventions. We also have a lot of funding programs where we prioritize funding to young scientists, young entrepreneurs, because we really want to give them opportunities early on. And of course, with all that support system that exists through private funding and also public funding, we're building a workforce that has the skills to be competitive in the future. But yes, back to the point that Mr. Skouridis made, it is a much bigger, we understand that there's interministerial collaboration that needs to come in. It's documented, there are actions in the national strategy that are taking place, but again, it takes time to shift an educational system and make it fit for the future.
And a comment from Mr.
I just want to add something to this. I do agree that change has to happen and we have to adapt to certain, but in my capacity as a father and a grandfather, every change has to be gradual. The same way as everything is changing, in a fast or slow, it's changing, it has to be changing. On the other side, our children, we have to prepare our children gradually. Let's not forget one thing, and tell me old-fashioned if you like, and it's fine. We were in the same situation a few years back where everything around us was changing. And actually, even if we're talking about changing educational systems now, there was not even thinking about it back then. And yet, things were happening gradually. Yes, we have to speed it up perhaps a bit, but it's going to happen. You know, people are moving on. The children themselves are moving forward the same way as we all did at various levels here, because I can see a few levels of age here, that we all went through that. And we didn't necessarily have the help that we're talking about giving to our children and grandchildren now, back then. But yet we managed. The same way, our children, I believe, gradually, if we just hold their hand and guide them to the right direction through whatever system we have there, one way or the other, they will go forward.
Yeah. So we came from the question about Gulf to general important questions and comments. And now it's the last question. Who has... okay, Stalo. No, okay, all right, okay, yes.
My name is Tasula Hachitofi. I'm an entrepreneur of diaspora in the Netherlands, and I would like to give you a couple of tips from my experience from the Netherlands, who have managed to become the hub for Europe of international business. Please. I run a company with 37 nationalities in the Netherlands in the HR business, bringing knowledge workers, and nobody has thought, we all know how to treat the Japanese, Chinese, and do business in Holland. I think the first tip I would like to give to my fellow Cypriots is we have to stop selling and speaking what we have to sell, but start listening. And listening to what Europe wants. Europe has now billions, and they don't know where to invest. Our key from the Netherlands came here because they have billions to invest in space, quantum positioning, navigation, sensors, smart materials, unmanned systems in AI, maritime sector, and I would like to strongly recommend you for innovation to focus your startups on these sectors. If you focus your startups on these sectors, you are going to be able to attract serious money from Europe, because that's where geopolitically you are looking to boost the defense and everything in Europe. Then, please allow me to say, never say that the word Cyprus is a gate to Middle Eastern Europe. We are not a throughput, we are a hub. Focus on pitching Cyprus as a hub of innovation, technology, and talent, so that the Europeans look at us to come invest, give attractive measures to companies from all over the world to come and set up their holdings here, their headquarters here, so that you can serve the Middle East. Listen carefully to what talent Middle East has, what are they developing, and what role can you play to sell to Europe and elsewhere. Try and make joint ventures so that they can do business here for their use Cyprus as they have to sell to Europe and elsewhere, and vice versa. And I think if we streamline like that, there is a lot of talent. And you think that the bank is not a problem, but I strongly advise you to attract talent, and we attract in Holland thousands of youth to work in the European Space Agency and everywhere else. I can get a youngster from anywhere in the world in Holland in 4 to 6 weeks to have a work permit and work. And when they come, they register at the town hall, they get their tax number with an appointment, they go to the bank, and if they have a contract, labor contract, they can get 100% mortgage to buy a house. So I wanted to share with you, please look at it holistic. You are going the right way, and we, the diaspora, would love to help you. Don't ask us for contacts, ask us for our know-how.
Thank you so much.
That was very informative.
First of all, I would like to thank you for all your feedback, and I know out of your contribution and value to the country, it all comes from a very good heart. These are some areas where we are already investing. We are not there, but I think if you do have members from your delegation that are here looking for space, looking for maritime, etc., there are good opportunities. So Mr. Stavro also happens to be very closely affiliated with CMMI, the chairman. CMMI is the Cyprus Center of Excellence for Maritime, Marine and Maritime, basically, Institute. They have actually created an artificial coral reef. They have created a zero-emission, let's say, vessel that we have funded as the Research Innovation Foundation. They are actually putting in the energy to actually pivot that to make it autonomous. There are opportunities where we have, of course, the word hub versus gateway. I think it's a great tip. We'll take it on board. I think we've heard the UAE and others talk about the super hubs. And of course, feel free to give us, this this input. We take it on board, and of course, we all need to work to create a future value proposition that helps. But again, the key thing here is that there is us. And us together is much stronger than basically individuals trying to formulate policy and and implement them. Bringing together the sums of the part will always create a bigger part. And I will stop by just saying one word, because we also need to do a better job on advocating on what we do. Have you seen that there is an article in the UK Times, in a UK newspaper, of a Cypriot institute publishing the effect of solar radiation on astronaut DNA, a first of its kind. It comes out of a small research center that was actually built with NASA being a partner, with Finnish universities, with other elements that are here. So we are building these small satellites. We need to do more work to really invite more talent to come, and this is why our President, His Excellency, is building a very big campaign on basically brain gain and bringing people back. But I basically go back to the most, I think, important element I heard there is almost always think about the value of how you bring the message together. It's not just about being a facilitator, it's about the additional or incremental value that you build. And I thank Mr. Sula for sharing that with us.
Yes, and Mr. Stavro, it's going to be comment to what was said, and also the final comment on our panel, and I will ask you also to comment.
First of all, I would like to thank you very much for this experience sharing and advice, I would say, and I very much appreciate it. I want to add one thing only. I fully share 100% of everything you said, taking always into account the different scale of difficulties we are faced implementing some of what seems to be such a normal way of operation in the Netherlands. I have worked in the Netherlands for 10 years. I was just to show you that I have been there, I was a CEO of Oka service stations, then became Tamoil, and I worked there for a long time. And I know, and you are so lucky to be there, and lucky to have that country and that structure you have. And we try to learn as much, but the difficulties that we are facing here, being a small place, but also, unfortunately, what we have said earlier on, being faced with the problems we faced in the past, for whatever reason, put us in a very difficult situation to handle things right now. And we're learning, we're doing our utmost, and we like to hear this advice. And believe me, listening is the best thing we can do, and we learn that, and we learned it the hard way. One thing, though, that I want your advice again, the use of the word gateway versus hub. I had a great discussion it was 2 months ago in a conference when I used the word hub. And a lady there told me, if you want to be a hub, don't try to be where you are not yet, she said. If you're trying to be a hub, you have to be a gateway first. You have to have people passing through, see who you are, show them what you can do, and then be a hub. And I do apologize. Right now, I prefer the word hub because it shows that what we want to do eventually. And I would take your advice and not the other one because, frankly, it suits me better. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lucas, your summary.
Yes,
no questions more. The summary from two gentlemen, and we are over.
Just to drill down on a couple of points. We do have a smart specialization strategy, and the sectors, areas that you've mentioned are covered by it, because just so everyone knows, the funding we provide is co-funded by the European Commission, so they set the tone on these thematic areas. Truth of the matter, we do need to steer more, but we have to cater for the needs of everyone with rather very little resources that we have. But the thing which always comes up in discussions we have, either here with locals or abroad with foreign partners or potential partners, is that and it's a thing that never ceases to amaze me. We are not good at marketing ourselves. The government of Cyprus has some great incentives. Every time I look into our toolbox, we have so many different tools, but we need to effectively leveraging them. And it's quite surprising that sometimes people who choose to live and work for Cyprus, foreigners, they know more of the incentives that this country has. Like, for example, you talked about highly skilled individuals attracting good talent. There are some very strong incentives, and every time we put them all in one slide, I always notice that people take note of some of them and they were not aware of them. So we recognize that we need to do more, because I agree with you, we do need to be a hub. We are becoming one, and we're attracting great talent in this country. Some of this talent we wouldn't have had 10 years ago, and we're having great discussions, and they're giving us feedback like yourselves, and thank you for that. On how do we improve.
We have this aim. We started on time, and we want to end on time. It's exactly 12:30, and you have this honor to have your last word, and we are done.
So,
No, wait, it's Mr. Nicolau.
I can pass
privilege. No, it's yours. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I just want to say, because I'm 100% focused on the Gulf region, okay?
Keep it on 30 seconds.
5 things to have in mind when working with this region. Commitment to investment. It's not only money, it's about time and effort. Alignment with the national visions of the country. Without the national visions, I think we are far from understanding where we are going. Have a clear value proposition, what we actually can offer, and what will they gain more than what we will make. That's very important. And also looking at joint ventures. A joint venture approach is something which is really, really liked in this part of the world, because it minimizes the risks on both sides. They love doing joint ventures. So it's a way to enter the market, as well as the question before. Last but not least, look at everything as in a long-term perspective. It's not about quick wins. It's not about the short term. This region does not work with quick wins. It's about the long term, and you have to invest time for that.
Yes, and I want to say about long term, this end of the panel, we are about the end. It's just the end of the panel, but beginning of the conversation. So you can come here, continue conversation. The last 2 words, and 2 words, only 2.
First,
Fast.
Mrs. Kouridis, I'm the oldest, so I have to have.
All right, so your 2 words.
I owed you a speech. Paul will actually put it up, so I apologize for that. I will just say the following. We have developed, we are developing, and there is a lot more than we couldn't share, but I'm glad that we started this conversation. Feel free to reach out. The people here and many other members here are all to facilitate you. We do have tools. In areas we are developing tools. For the Middle East, remember 3 things. Trust, value, right? And delivering on that value. If we try to go into a market and we are not ready, we will fail. We will lose credibility, and because they easily associate and they invest, they don't look back. So make sure that you have a value proposition, make sure that you have a product or you have a service that can be of value, and use the tools available, the Chamber of Commerce, the satellite, let's say, exhibitions that are happening, the tours, with the colleagues, and I think the executives are there. We, as Cyprus, are building an overall umbrella that covers infrastructure, it covers basically the products, the services, it facilitates the companies through different tools, and it has also the blessing at the strategic level and the political level, which is the government. So all 4 pillars are there, and the last one is the connectivity. So stay tuned, reach out, and we have a lot more coming.
Much more than 2 words.
Two words, okay. 2 words only. First of all, for whatever help you need, please reach out to the Chamber of Commerce. We're there to help in each and every way. But we are there to also listen and get ideas from you as to how to handle things, how to promote things, how to move into new areas. Please, we will welcome any idea. My personal number is on my personal card, my mobile number. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime, anywhere. And what we're looking for, don't forget, we're not just promoting business here. We have a lot of other problems in this small island which go beyond business. But business is going to help us resolve one way or another, this business too. I said at the beginning, and I'm closing, Natalia, we are not looking for opportunistic businesses. We're not looking for transactional only businesses. We're looking for ventures, we're looking for trust, we're looking for businesses that are sustainable and they will stand the test of time. And believe me, if the business people, if the people themselves get together in a sustainable relationship and they go like this, then the politicians have no other option but to follow. Thank you very much.
So, at the beginning of this conversation, I promised you meaningful discussion because our panelists are really, really interesting people. We had it, and thank you very much for being here.